Hey, so it's me, and this is like my first time on Facebook Live, and I am getting as vulnerable as can be. I attended a workshop a couple weeks ago, and it talked about the importance of coming out of the psychedelic closet as a social justice issue. So I'm here today to share with you a little bit of my story and hope that it inspires conversations. And if you live in Denver or Portland, I hope it inspires you to vote for decriminalization of psilocybin. So, what is my story? I have actually struggled with sleep for about 25 years of my life. It's been so difficult for me to sleep. For the first decade, used exhaustion to help me sleep. I had an eating disorder from 10 to 19, and that really used up a lot of energy. So at night, I was able to just pass out. In college, I did what high performers do and volunteered for like 10 organizations. My pocket PC beeped at me every hour to let me know where I was supposed to go next and what I was supposed to do next. But I kept myself so exhausted. I did all-nighters back then frequently. I also did all-nighters in middle school. I homeschooled myself then, and doing the all-nighters allowed me to sleep better. More recently, though, I would say I alternated between using wine, melatonin, and over-the-counter sleep aids. I never wanted to become addicted to one of them, so I would alternate. And I used those because when I lied in bed, I had this cold knot in my chest. And I would feel my heart racing, and it was difficult for me to let down. And it may not have just begun with my trauma. We now know about epigenetics and generational trauma. My grandparents were children during the Great Depression. My grandfather ran away when he was 14. He lived on the streets, which I'm sure isn't one of the safest places to live. And he would try to earn money, and when he earned enough money, he would return home and give the family the money. And when the money ran out and there was no food left for his sisters and himself, he would run away again. So he may have learned, his nervous system may have learned that it wasn't safe to sleep. My grandmother also had trauma in her history. She was given away to be a maid in a household when I think she was 12 or 13. She only shared one story about that time with me, but it involved pain and fear. So I imagine her time there wasn't one of the best experiences. My mom also suffered a lot of trauma. She was a survivor of childhood sexual assault from 4 to 6 by a neighbor. So she could have learned that it wasn't safe to sleep and let down. I also had traumatic events in my life at 4 and 10. And I did therapy. I have done therapy for probably about 8 years. I've done talk therapy. I've done NARM, neuroaffective regulation model. I did containment and autonomic response. I went to a somatic experiencing therapist. So I tried all these other modalities to get sleep because I knew I didn't want to use wine. I didn't want to use sleep aids or melatonin, and I didn't want to use exhaustion. Sometimes I'd work 60, 65-hour weeks, and that allowed me to really just pass out and to not feel that ball in my chest. And all these therapies, they helped a lot. I have so much better relationships with those in my life due to those therapies. I'm thankful for the therapists and their theories. And none of them really helped me with getting to sleep. We couldn't figure out the trauma or the issue connected to that. So I still had so much difficulty with that. So I've been privileged enough, lucky enough to be able to have a therapeutic experience with MDMA and a therapeutic experience with psilocybin. On the MDMA, I was actually taken to that cold, anxious place. My whole body went cold. I felt like I was separated from everything in the universe. And I was there for like 10, 15 minutes. And slowly I felt acceptance towards this. That it was okay. This place of cold anxiety shut off from everything was actually okay. And that has massively impacted me. I now still feel that cold anxiety, though it's lessened so much. But I still feel it at times when I go to bed. Yet, I can handle it. I don't seek something else to help me not feel it. It's kind of like a grumpy old dog on the bed. It's like, oh, there you are. I see you. Please don't bite me tonight. But it's okay. We're cool. We're cool in this bed together. And then I had a therapeutic experience with psilocybin, and the studies are showing that psilocybin is neurogenerative. It creates new neurons, and it focuses on the amygdala, which the amygdala does many things, but one of the things it also does is direct where stimuli come in, and the amygdala decides if it's a normal stimuli or if it should activate us to fight or flight. So the fact that psilocybin has the ability to regrow that part of our brain is pretty amazing. The studies for MDMA-assisted psychotherapy are showing double the results as any other therapy. So a year after treatment, veterans had like a 70% 72% of them are no longer qualified for PTSD. And those results are amazing. So I hope I have inspired people to start talking about decriminalization. Decriminalization would allow guides and therapists to work with psilocybin with less fear of prosecution. And I also, the speaker I heard said it was a social justice issue to look around the room, as 95% of the audience was white. The people that have suffered the most trauma, like while my family did have trauma, it hasn't suffered as much, like just a fraction of what some demographics have suffered. And I am least likely to be prosecuted, where if other people try to seek out these healing substances on their own, they have a much higher fear of prosecution and profiling. So decriminalization would support our society in healing and allowing those people to access that. So I appreciate you listening today. If you have any questions, I would love to answer it. I gave this talk actually at Toastmasters, and I was surprised by how many people had questions. So there are a lot of societies, educational workshops, that provide more information. So please feel free to ask. I'd love to connect you with more information. Of course, Michael Pollan's book, How to Change Your Mind, is an amazing resource. I think half the people in Boulder have read that now. But yeah, thanks for listening and have a great day. Bye.